Stop relying on protein alone to rebuild your muscles after 75. I know. That sounds like the opposite of everything you've been told. But here's what most doctors aren't sitting down to explain to their patients. After 75, your muscle cells do not respond to protein the same way they did at 55. You can eat 3 eggs every single morning, a chicken breast at lunch, and a Greek yogurt at night, and still slowly lose strength month after month without understanding why. A landmark study published in the journal Nutrition and Metabolism followed aging adults and found that elderly muscle is genuinely resistant to normally robust anabolic stimuli, meaning your muscles have become less sensitive to the protein signal. Not unresponsive, but they require a far stronger trigger to actually start building tissue. And a 2023 paper in Clinical Nutrition confirmed that of all the factors driving this, leucine, the key amino acid that activates your muscle-building machinery, needs to be present at significantly higher concentrations in older adults just to produce the same response that a younger person gets automatically. But here's what no one is telling you, and this is where it gets genuinely surprising. Research now shows that chronic low-grade inflammation in aging muscle is actively blocking that signal from getting through. And I've looked at the scans, I've reviewed the blood work. People eating enough protein but still losing grip strength, still struggling to rise from a chair, still losing that functional independence they worked their whole lives to protect. The issue is not always the protein. Sometimes it's the inflammatory environment surrounding the muscle cells that's shutting down the whole process before it even starts. And that is exactly where certain fruits become something truly worth paying attention to. Not because they're magic, but because they contain specific compounds that research has now confirmed in real human clinical trials can reduce that inflammatory interference, improve how your protein is absorbed, and help your aging muscles actually respond to the food you're giving them. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 of them, ranked from foundational to most powerful, and I'll show you exactly how to use each one, starting with your very next meal. Stay with me through number 2, because what researchers found about that one particular fruit and the enzyme it contains shocked the nutrition science community. And it directly addresses one of the least talked about reasons older adults lose muscle even when they're doing everything right. But first, a quick question. How old are you right now? And do you feel stronger or weaker than you did 2 years ago? Write that in the comments below. I read every single one personally, and I respond because I genuinely want to know who this information is reaching and whether it's actually helping. All right, let's start with number 5. And this one is going to surprise you because most people have never thought about it in the context of muscle at all. Number 5, tart cherries. Now, I know what you're thinking, cherries for muscle. But listen, because the research on this fruit specifically in older adults is some of the most solid dietary science I have come across in this space. Tart cherries, and we're talking specifically about the Montmorillon variety, which is what virtually all the clinical research uses, are one of the most concentrated dietary sources of anthocyanins on the planet. Anthocyanins are the dark red and purple pigment compounds found in berries, and researchers have been studying them extensively because of something really important. Their anti-inflammatory activity has been shown in multiple studies to be comparable in mechanism to non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Not identical, but genuinely comparable in terms of how they inhibit inflammatory pathways, specifically the COX enzymes that drive muscle inflammation. And here's why that matters so much for someone over 75. A randomized controlled clinical trial published in Food and Function enrolled men and women between 65 and 80 years old and had them consume tart cherry juice daily for 12 weeks. After 12 weeks, the tart cherry group showed a significant reduction in C-reactive protein, which is the key blood marker of systemic inflammation compared to the control group. And that matters because CRP and other inflammatory markers are precisely what researchers have identified as part of the mechanism suppressing muscle protein synthesis in aging adults. When inflammation is chronically elevated, it competes directly with the anabolic signal from your protein. Your muscle cells are essentially getting 2 signals at once. The protein is saying build, and the inflammation is saying breakdown. And in older adults with chronically elevated inflammation, the breakdown signal often wins. A 2022 study published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise also found that tart cherry supplementation enhanced the expression of glutathione peroxidase in skeletal muscle tissue, which is one of the body's primary antioxidant enzymes, specifically inside muscle cells. Think of it as your muscle's own internal cleaning crew. When that crew is active and working properly, the cellular environment inside the muscle stays cleaner and the anabolic signal from protein and exercise has a cleaner, clearer path to the muscle cell. Here's how you actually use it. 1 to 4 cups of dried tart cherries daily, and dried works well because the anthocyanins are preserved. You can also use 2 to 4 ounces of unsweetened 100% tart cherry juice, which is available in most health food stores. The simplest approach is to keep a small bag of dried tart cherries on your kitchen counter and eat a handful in the mid-morning around the same time you're eating a protein-rich meal or snack. The combination of anti-inflammatory compounds from the cherries alongside dietary protein creates a better internal environment for muscle synthesis than protein alone. Start with this one this week and don't skip what's coming next, because number 4 addresses something even more fundamental that starts happening the moment you swallow your food. And most people over 75 have no idea this is working against them. Number 4, kiwi fruit. This one genuinely surprised me when I first looked into the research because kiwi fruit contains something that virtually no other food on the planet contains, and it has a direct documented effect on one of the most overlooked problems in senior nutrition. Green kiwi fruit is specifically the Hayward variety, which is the standard green kiwi you find in any grocery store, contains a proteolytic enzyme called actin. Proteolytic means it breaks down protein. And what actin does, confirmed in multiple published studies from Massey University and the Reddit Institute, is dramatically accelerate the breakdown of protein molecules in your stomach and small intestine, breaking them down into usable amino acids faster and more completely than digestive enzymes alone. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry showed that when actinidin from green kiwi fruit was present during gastric digestion, intact protein molecules disappeared within minutes, far more rapidly than without it. And a clinical trial from Massey University confirmed that kiwi fruit containing actinidine increased the gastric digestion and emptying rate of multiple dietary proteins, including animal protein, delivering essential amino acids to the bloodstream significantly faster than without it. Now, why does this matter specifically for someone over 75? Because as you age, stomach acid production declines, gastric motility slows down, and your gut becomes less efficient at extracting usable amino acids from the protein you eat. This means that even if you're eating 30 grams of protein at a meal, a meaningful portion of it may be passing through without ever being fully broken down into the leucine and essential amino acids your muscles actually need. Actinid in kiwi fruit essentially compensates for that age-related digestive decline and helps you get more out of the protein you're already eating. And then on top of the actinidin, 2 green kiwi fruit deliver around 160 to 180 milligrams of vitamin C. And vitamin C is critical for collagen synthesis. Collagen being the structural protein that forms your tendons, which are the connective tissues that anchor your muscles to your bones. Research published in the Journal of Cellular Physiology found that vitamin C can double collagen synthesis activity compared to conditions of deficiency. Without adequate vitamin C and therefore adequate collagen, the tendons and ligaments that support your muscles weaken. And when those supporting structures weaken, the functional strength your muscles can produce drops even if the muscle tissue itself is relatively preserved. How to use it? Eat 2 green kiwi fruit about 20 to 30 minutes before your main protein meal of the day. This is not an arbitrary recommendation. This is timing based on how long actinidine needs to be present in your stomach before the protein arrives, so it can start its work immediately. You can slice them in half and scoop them out with a spoon. No preparation, no cooking. The whole thing takes 30 seconds. The key is eating the green variety specifically. The gold kiwi fruit contain very little actinid and won't give you this particular benefit. And get ready, because what comes next is something I've been looking at the data on for a while, and I want to be very precise about why it works, because the mechanism is genuinely fascinating. Before we continue, if this is giving you information you haven't heard from your doctor, hit that like button and subscribe. I put out content like this consistently, and you do not want to miss what's coming in the next few weeks. Number 3, blueberries. Blueberries might be the most studied fruit in all of nutritional science over the last 2 decades, and the research is impressive, but I want to be specific with you about exactly why blueberries belong on this list in the context of muscle because it's not the reason most people assume. Yes, blueberries are high in antioxidants. Yes, they're good for your brain, but here's the mechanism that almost nobody is talking about in the context of aging muscle specifically. One of the documented contributors to anabolic resistance in older adults beyond inflammation is what researchers call impaired capillary recruitment. What this means is that when you eat a protein-rich meal, young muscle responds by dilating the tiny blood vessels supplying the muscle tissue, which floods those cells with amino acids from the bloodstream. In aging muscle, that vascular response is blunted. The blood vessels don't dilate as efficiently, so amino acids from your meal circulate in your blood but don't reach the muscle tissue in the same concentrations they would in a younger person. Less amino acid delivery to the muscle means a weaker anabolic response even when total protein intake is the same. A 2024 review published in Frontiers in Nutrition confirmed that anthracene-rich foods and blueberries are among the richest available sources, have measurable positive effects on vascular function and blood flow in aging adults, working through nitric oxide pathways and endothelial health. And improved vascular function in older adults means better amino acid delivery to muscle tissue at exactly the moment when those muscles are waiting for building blocks. Additionally, a comprehensive review in Advances in Nutrition documented that regular blueberry consumption produces meaningful reductions in inflammatory biomarkers in human clinical studies, which again reduces that chronic inflammatory interference that's competing with your muscle-building signal at the cellular level. And I want to mention one more thing about blueberries that I find particularly relevant for the people watching this video. Multiple randomized control trials have shown improvements in memory, processing speed, and cognitive function in older adults who consume blueberries consistently. And this matters because physical decline and cognitive decline often travel together. A food that supports the brain and the muscles simultaneously is not something you want to be leaving off your plate. Here's how to use it. Half a cup of blueberries daily. That's the dose used in the research. Frozen blueberries are just as anthracene-rich as fresh. Freeze-drying preserves these compounds extremely well, and they're less expensive year-round. Add them to oatmeal with a scoop of protein powder in the morning. Blend them into a smoothie alongside Greek yogurt, or just eat them straight from the bowl. No prep time, no cooking. This is one of the easiest habits to sustain because frankly they taste good. Wild or small variety blueberries tend to have higher anthocyanin concentrations than the large cultivated ones if you can find them. Now pay close attention to number 2, because this one directly targets the same mTOR signaling pathway that every Sarcopenia researcher in the world is focused on, and it does it through a mechanism that will genuinely change how you think about what to put next to your protein. Number 2, avocado. Yes, avocado is technically a fruit, and when you understand what it actually does inside aging muscle at a cellular level, you will never think of it the same way again. Let me start with something that took me a while to fully appreciate when I was reviewing this research. A landmark randomized control trial from Washington University School of Medicine, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, took healthy older adults and gave half of them omega-3 fatty acid supplementation and the other half corn oil for 8 weeks. Then they measured the actual rate of muscle protein synthesis in both groups during a period of elevated amino acids and insulin, the conditions most favorable to muscle building. The omega-3 group showed a significant increase in muscle protein synthesis rates. The corn oil group showed nothing. And critically, the researchers confirmed this was mediated through the mTOR signaling pathway, the same pathway that becomes resistant and sluggish in aging muscle. Omega-3 fatty acids appeared to restore sensitivity to it. Now, avocado is not a concentrated source of omega-3 fatty acids the way fish oil is. I want to be honest about that, but a medium avocado does contain around 1 g of omega-3 ALA fatty acids, along with approximately 13 grams of monounsaturated oleic acid, the same heart-healthy fat that makes olive oil so beneficial. And this combination of healthy fats does something critically important for aging muscle that no amount of protein alone can do. Your muscle cell membranes are made of fat, and as you age, those membranes become progressively stiffer and less fluid. When a cell membrane is stiff, its receptor proteins, including the receptors that respond to insulin and amino acids and leucine, become less mobile and less functional. They literally cannot move as freely across the membrane to bind to their signaling molecules. Monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, when incorporated into cell membranes through your diet, restore membrane fluidity. They keep the membrane flexible, and a flexible membrane means more responsive receptors, which means the anabolic signal from your protein and from leucine gets received more efficiently at the cellular level. Beyond that, avocado is rich in fats, soluble vitamins, including vitamin E, and supports the absorption of vitamin D from other foods you eat at the same meal. Vitamin D deficiency is extraordinarily common in adults over 70, and it is independently associated with muscle weakness and accelerated sarcopenia in study after study. If you're taking vitamin D but eating low-fat meals, you may be absorbing a fraction of what you think. Dietary fat at that same meal is what enables fats-soluble vitamins to cross from your gut into your bloodstream. And the potassium in avocado, it contains more potassium gram for gram than a banana, is essential for proper muscle contraction and nerve signaling to muscle tissue. How to use it? Half an avocado 3 to 4 times per week is a practical, achievable target. Cut it, remove the pit, and eat it with a sprinkle of salt as a side to your eggs in the morning. Slice it onto a protein-rich salad at lunch. Mash half an avocado into a post-exercise smoothie with a scoop of protein powder and a banana. You won't taste it, but it transforms the texture and makes the nutritional profile of that meal dramatically more complete. For maximum effect, eat your avocado at the same meal as your main protein source, so those healthy fats and your leucine-rich protein are present in your digestive system at the same time. But everything you've heard so far sets the stage for what I want to show you at number 1. Because the most powerful thing you can do for muscle after 75 has to do with timing, combination, and a nutrient called leucine. And 2, and there is one fruit that makes that whole system work better than anything else I found in the research. Number 1, berries with your protein. And specifically, I want to explain the leucine connection to you because this is the most important thing I can tell you about muscle health after 75. Here's what the research has established clearly. Leucine is an amino acid. It's the most powerful activator of mTOR, the molecular switch that tells your muscle cells to start building new tissue. Published data in Clinical Nutrition in 2023 confirmed that leucine's ability to phosphorylate mTOR signaling proteins is approximately 3 times more potent than any other essential amino acid. It is the key that turns the ignition. But here is the critical problem. Research from the University of Texas Medical Branch and confirmed by multiple independent labs has established that the leucine threshold, the minimum concentration of leucine your muscle needs to actually trigger mTOR and start building, is significantly higher in older adults than in younger adults. A younger person might spark that response with around 2 g of leucine at a meal. An older adult, particularly someone over 75, research suggests needs somewhere between 2.8 and 4 gi at a single sitting to cross that same threshold, which means how you distribute your protein across the day matters enormously. You need to reach that leucine threshold at each meal, not spread it so thin that you never trigger the response at all. So where does fruit come in? Chronic inflammation directly suppresses mTOR activity. When inflammatory cytokines, particularly TNF-alpha and IL-6, are chronically elevated in your bloodstream, as they are in the vast majority of older adults, they interfere with the mTOR signaling cascade even when leucine is present. Your leucine is knocking on the door, but inflammation has changed the lock. The anthocyanins in blueberries, the anti-inflammatory compounds in tart cherries, the vitamin C in kiwi fruit. All of these work through reducing that cytokine load and restoring the sensitivity of the mTOR pathway to leucine. A 2022 randomized control trial published in Frontiers in Nutrition confirmed that quercetin glycoside compounds, polyphenols closely related to those found in berries combined with exercise, produced measurable improvements in muscle quality in older adults working precisely through this anti-inflammatory mechanism on the mTOR pathway. So the single most practical and evidence-based recommendation I can give you, and the combination that brings everything in this video together, is this. At your main protein meal of the day, make sure you have 30 to 40 g of a high-quality leucine-rich protein. That means eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fish, chicken, or whey protein. And alongside that protein, eat a generous serving of anti-inflammatory berries, blueberries, tart cherries, or a combination of both. And if you do any physical activity, even a 20-minute walk, eat that protein and berry combination within the hour after. That post-activity window is when your muscle cells are at peak sensitivity to amino acids. And the anti-inflammatory compounds from the berries clear the molecular interference that would otherwise reduce how much of your protein actually turns into usable muscle. The most practical version of this that I can give you is blueberries with Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is one of the most leucinense foods you can buy in any grocery store. Blueberries are available year-round, frozen or fresh, require zero preparation, and the combination of leucine from the yogurt and anthocyanins from the berries addresses the two biggest bottlenecks in aging muscle metabolism at the same time. So there you have it. 5 fruits, tart cherries, kiwi fruit, blueberries, avocado, and the strategic combination of berries with leucine-rich protein, each of them bringing something specific and evidence-based to the challenge of maintaining muscle after 75. From reducing the inflammation that blocks your anabolic signal to improving the protein digestion that feeds the muscle cells to restoring the cell membrane fluidity that allows nutrients to enter in the first place. And finally, to creating the optimal internal environment for leucine to do its job. None of this requires complicated recipes, expensive supplements, or hours in a kitchen. A handful of frozen blueberries, 2 green kiwi fruit before dinner, a small bowl of dried tart cherries as your mid-morning snack, half an avocado with your eggs. These are 10-second changes to your routine that, according to real published science, address real documented mechanisms of muscle loss in aging adults. And I want to be honest with you about something before I go. None of these fruits alone will reverse sarcopenia. The non-negotiable foundation is still adequate protein distributed across your meals, leucine-rich and sufficient, and resistance exercise, even chair-based, even resistance bands, even 10 minutes, is still the single most powerful intervention for maintaining muscle at any age. Building muscle after 75 is not just about aesthetics or even about feeling stronger, although both of those absolutely matter. It's about staying out of nursing homes. It's about maintaining your balance so you don't fall. It's about being able to stand up from a chair, walk to your mailbox, and live on your own terms for as many years as possible. And your muscles are absolutely capable of responding. They just need the right conditions. If this was useful to you, please subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because we are going to go deep on protein timing, leucine sources, and the specific resistance exercises that research has shown to be most effective for adults over 75 who want to stay functional and independent for as long as possible. All scientific references cited in this video are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching.